We're cooking chicken and mushroom on boiled rice. Vegetable oil, coconut oil, olive oil, rapeseed oil, whatever oil you've got really. Some form of soy sauce. Now ideally you want to use the light soy sauce, it's salty and it's used to season the dish. You'll need some salt, any salt that you've got, table salt, this is sea salt, white pepper. Now the Chinese season with white pepper because you get the background heat without the crunchy, with the black peppercorns. So that's why we use white pepper and some sugar. So the actual recipe itself, you will need some rice. Now I'm going to show you how to boil rice, but you can use packet rice, so don't worry about that. So this is long grain rice. You will need some mushrooms. And again, any mushroom that you've got, you can use portobello, close cut mushrooms. I think these are just white mushrooms. One small Spanish onion or brown onion, or I think they're called white onions as well, but okay, your protein of choice. Now, just because it's chicken and mushroom doesn't mean you have to cook chicken. So Craig, who's vegan, he's doing a chicken alternative or a vegan alternative. If you wanted to use king prawns, you wanted to use beef or pork, that's completely up to you. And final ingredients is the oyster sauce. Right then, rice. So if you're cooking for one person, you're going to need, if you can imagine that you've got a mug, a normal cup of tea, in a mug, you want to use about half a mug for one person. In here, I've got about a mug and a half of rice, okay? We don't tend to measure things with Chinese cookery. A true Chinese chef will do it by sight and by taste. So in here, I have some rice. Now I've washed this rice already. We're going to add enough water so it sits approximately 2 to 3 centimeters above the top of the rice. So I'm going to add my water and I just level it out so it's nice and thin, and I'll dip my finger in. So I want the water to come up to about my first knuckle, so my first crease. So only approximately, that's all the water I've got, so that's all the water it's getting. And then once your pan and rice is together and your water, you're going to put this on full boil. So turn your stove up as high as it goes. So while the rice is cooking, we can prep some of our vegetables. So with the onion, we're just going to take the top off and then chop it in half. Okay? And then just take the first 1 or 2 layers. If you find it's quite papery, take that layer off as well. I'm going to chop the onions into cubes. So the first thing I'm going to do is just right up to the root, I'm going to split my onion into 3 pieces. Okay? Then from there again, I'm going to put 2 cuts through, which is going to give me cubes. You see I've got cubes of onion now. And I'll discard the end. Same thing again on this one. And now you'll need to chop the mushrooms. So I chop it into half and then half again. And these are now bite-sized pieces. Now the last thing you'll need to do is chop your chicken if you haven't done already. I've left this till last, so you can obviously move the ingredients off to one side or onto a plate, and then you can discard the chopping board afterwards. Now the chicken pieces are cut again into bite-sized pieces. So imagine that was a chicken breast and I've literally just sliced it against the grain into slices of chicken. I know some people like to chop it into cubes. I don't think it cuts or cooks quite as well, and it takes longer as well. So you need to chop it into very thin slices. This will literally cook in about 60 seconds in the wok. Now my rice is just coming up to the boil. Now the trick is that we keep this boiling until it creates little craters. So all the water has evaporated or been absorbed by the rice, and you get little craters appearing in the top of the rice. Turn your gas or your electric or induction down to its lowest setting and pop a lid on. Now the lid needs to fit firmly, okay? So make sure your lid just sits on there, and now let's just forget about that for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm now going to switch off the heat altogether, and I've got to leave that alone now for at least 10 to 12 minutes, and the rice will continue to cook in the residual heat, okay? And this is how you get nice fluffy white rice every time. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the wok on, and we're not going to cook until the wok is smoking, okay? So just at the moment, there's nothing in there. It's just completely dry and it's over heat, okay? And I'm just going to let that get to as hot as it can get without bursting into flames. So if your wok's smoking, guys, we need to add approximately 1 to 2 tablespoons of oil. Okay? Now this will spit, guys, so just take your time. And the first thing we're going to do is add our onions. Reason being is that the chicken will naturally leach water and it will cool the wok down. And before that happens, I want to try and get a bit of colour on my onions. So in go my onions. And I'm just going to break down the chunks. And I'm just going to leave that for about 60 seconds or so, just to get that browning colour, okay? You want burnt bits without it being completely burnt, but you want that charring, because that's going to inject some flavour. Sorry, can you repeat that? Yes, of course. Yeah, if you want to put garlic in, put the garlic in now with the onion. So let me just grab a piece of this onion for you. Where was it? So I don't know if you can see on the camera that I've just started to get a little bit of caramelisation on the onion. Now once your onion has started to caramelise and start to go a little bit transparent, you're going to add your chicken. Now this will make your wok make it cool down very quickly. So I'm just going to push my onion out to the sides, add my chicken, and then fan the chicken out to create one layer. So I'm just trying to make sure that each piece of chicken now is in contact with the wok. And once you've got that one layer, same thing we did with the onions, leave it alone. So this is going to take, on this cooker, will take again about another 90 seconds to 2 minutes. Now at the bottom of my wok, I've got little tiny bubbles of water, okay, which are nearly evaporated all the way through now. Now this should be okay now to add the mushrooms. So if you think your chicken is nearly cooked all the way through, time to add your mushrooms. And what we'll do, we'll add all the mushrooms in at the same time. So just give everything a really good mix. Now the mushrooms, obviously it's nice to have fried mushrooms, but we are going to struggle now to get them really fried. So after about 60 seconds, we'll add in the seasoning. We're going to add the dry seasoning. Now what the dry seasoning will do will help pull some of the water out of those mushrooms. Okay, and it'll start creating a sauce for us at the bottom. Now we're adding oyster sauce, which is quite salty. We're adding soy sauce, which is quite salty. So put your salt to one side. I'm not going to use that just yet, okay? Now we're going to bring out some more sweetness. So there's natural sweetness in the chicken, there's natural sweetness in the onion. But what we're going to do, we're going to try and elevate that by adding approximately half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of sugar. So just sprinkle your sugar over your ingredients. And again, about a teaspoon should be plenty. Now this is going to be followed by a pinch of white pepper. If you like more heat, add more pepper. But I'm going to add approximately 1/8 of a teaspoon, or that will equate to about 2 pinches of ground white pepper. And once those dry ingredients are well incorporated, we're going to add our 3 tablespoons of oyster sauce. And then I'm going to add a drizzle of soy sauce. This is the light soy sauce for saltiness. And I'm going to give everything a really good mix. Being careful, if you've got a spoon, use a spoon. If not, just get your finger. Dip it into the sauce and try it. I think that tastes fantastic, so I'm not going to add any salt. If you find that your dish is too salty, add more sugar. If it needs more seasoning, add a little bit more salt, and you can add a little bit more white pepper at this stage as well if you want to. Okay? Okay, that can go off. And that's our chicken and mushroom cooked. So to serve this, guys, so we're going to do like a typical Chinese rice bowl. And if you can see that, you got fluffy white rice. So you need to put in a good portion of rice into your rice bowl. And then using a bigger spoon, I'm going to grab some of my chicken and mushroom, and then grabbing some of this sauce at the bottom, or gravy. I'm just going to pour that over the top. And there we have it, guys. Chicken and mushroom on top of boiled rice, using 5 essential ingredients and 5 store cupboard ingredients.